Okay, former lightweight world champion and Hall of Famer Ray Boom Boom Mancini is with us in studio. He's over in this part of the world as part of Scott Murray's Night of Champions series. Scott's latest show was this past Saturday night and also featured Barry McGuigan, Ken Buchanan, John Conte and John H. Tracy. You're very welcome, Ray. Thanks a million for coming in.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. First time here in Ireland. And
is it, yeah?
First time, obviously, in Dublin. And one of the places I wanted to visit. I've never got a chance to be here. I've did other places. I've done most of the, I've been to England, I've been to Wales and Scotland, but I've never been to Dublin. So this is, for me, it's the best.
Yeah, you've got Irish heritage.
Yes. My grandmother's maiden name was Flynn, obviously very Irish. And I'm trying to figure out where. I've heard, outside of Dublin, but then I've heard Limerick too. So I don't know how far Limerick is from Dublin. So somewhere in between maybe. But I always say I'm half Sicilian and half Irish. And so for years, when I was fighting, I had the Italian American flags. I had a patch on my left leg, but inside I had a shamrock. So I had both sides. I got to make sure I had both sides. And for years, they had talked about me fighting in Boston at the Boston Garden, which it'd been perfect. I would have the southeast and the north end,
Yeah.
But it never materialized. If I was fighting now, it could have, because at that time, pay-per-view, you could do that now. You could fight in places like Boston, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, and places like that without having to worry about a site fee. But now, they go places like Las Vegas or Atlantic City, they pay big site fees. But with pay-per-view, you don't have to be able to be in the casinos. It's nice if they pay good, but you can fight places like those other cities, and I wish I would have.
Sure. I'd imagine growing up in the United States in the 20th century with Sicilian blood and with Irish blood, you're always bound to be a pretty good boxer.
Well, yeah, I would say I'm half Sicilian, half Irish, which makes me what, a mean drunk? No, it's a joke. It's a joke. I love my Irish brethren. I love them. But, we were talking on the way over with the cab driver, and a good friend of mine, I lived in Los Angeles for 30 years. I just moved back to my hometown 4 years ago. But every St. Patty's Day, we'd go to Willie O'Brien's bar in Santa Monica. And it was wonderful. You have the Irish breakfast, go early, and you have, and have a Guinness, black and tan. And I never knew this terminology. I'm getting all of this terminology. But I would go in there, they'd sing Irish, carol, Irish music, songs, and it was lovely. It was, being part of it was great.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. Yeah. I guess they're two very distinctive communities as well. I'm not sure was that the case in Youngstown, but certainly, the big picture we get from this side of the Atlantic is New York and very heavily an Italian community, an Irish community, and you always wonder how they mix, particularly in boxing circles.
Well, yes. Well, like I said, it's good to bloodlines.
Sure.
Those bloodlines make good fighters, obviously. In my hometown, the Youngstown, Ohio has been a true melting pot. For people to understand, we were the second biggest steel producing city in the world. Pittsburgh was one, we were two. Forever, until steel mill shut down. So it was a true immigration of Eastern and Western Europeans from the 1900s, late 1800s, all the way through 1900s. So we have multi-ethnicities in Youngstown. Large, Ukrainian community. We have a large from Yugoslavia, Serbian and Croatian. Besides, probably the largest community is Italo-American, Italian-American, but there's large Irish community. And so, that's always, the joke, and I went to school a lot of Irish. I said, hey. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, Ed O'Neill, do you know Ed O'Neill from Modern Family? Yeah. Eddie's from my hometown, very good friend of mine, close friend. So I called him and said, Ed, will you be the master, whatever, I'm trying to think of the name, the host for the St. Patty's Day Parade in Youngstown. And he couldn't, he said, I can't. He said, why don't you get Ray Mancini? They go, we need an Irishman. He goes, no. His mother's Irish. They called me. So when they presented to the people in Youngstown, I said, can't you get a real Irishman? They go, no, he's a real Irishman. So when I went home, I explained, my mother's Irish. I'm half Irish. And it was funny. But that's the thing. We have a large, multi-ethnicities in Youngstown, but a large Irish community, and very proud of it. Very proud of the Irish heritage.
And I know boxing's normally pigeonholed as like a working class endeavour for athletes. But you've spoken before about the fact that you came from very much a middle-class family, and it was really following your father's footsteps that got you involved in the sport.
Well, you do your diligence. I'm impressed. I am impressed. Yes, because, what I'm saying is I didn't come from the slums. I didn't come from the barrios. I didn't come from, economic need. But, we were middle class, lower middle class on a lower scale, but middle class, nonetheless. And I went to procure school 12 years. you know, you're absolutely correct. And that's what I said. My whole construct to fight was different. Most people, you know, traditionally, through history, fighters come from the greatest fighters come from economic background, economic need. So in the 20s it was the Jews, the 30s it was the Irish, the 40s it was the Italians. Now it's the black and Hispanic. Traditionally, like I said, my whole construct to fight was different. I wanted to win that world title for my father. So when I moved to New York and I was training in gyms, I don't care if this guy comes from nothing. He comes from barrio. He comes. His desire and want and hunger was no different than mine. In fact, less probably, because I wanted that title for my father so bad. So when you're in the gym, you know, everyone's the same. You know, that's the it's the true essence of. I always said music and sports are one thing that are colorless and you know, have no ethnicities. It's if you can fight, you can fight. If you can sing, you can sing. And you know, that was the beautiful part about it. But yeah, it was my reason for fighting, my background was different than most.
Yeah, and you speak about like literal hunger, like there's fighters literally making a living out of this enterprise, whereas your fighting style would suggest you were literally scrapping for your life, whereas you actually came from a not too like non-affluent background.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I wanted to be my father. Yeah. And my father's style was keep coming. My father always made a joke, said, Raymond, I never took a backward step. But sometimes I wish I did. But, you know, I've read all the articles, and everyone used to tell me how he kept coming. And you read the articles and all those type of things, and I wanted to be him. And my style, I want, you know, so I fought like him. But I realized I couldn't be my father because, you know, there's times I was in the gym, you know, I could jab, I could move, I could box a little bit, you know. And compared to my father, I was Willie Pep, you know, if I had to be. But that wasn't what's going to get me to a title. My aggression, and it's a fan-friendly style, but it's not a style that has a long career.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so I sacrifice longevity to make my score, get in, make my money, win that title, and get out. And one thing I'm most proud of, I only fought 5.5 years as a pro. My total boxing career was 3 years in amateurs, 5.5 as a pro. 8.5 years, not a long time. And the one thing I'm most proud of is I could still spell fight. I can still spell it. And I say it half-jokingly because so many guys can't.
Yeah, sure. How important is that, like, to a certain extent, from your own health perspective? Do you count your lucky stars often?
Oh, absolutely. But no, don't get me wrong. I monitor my health every year. Right now they have at the Lou Rural Neurological Center and at the Cleveland Clinic, Las Vegas, they have a fighter study. And they invite, and I said, absolutely. And you know, it's funny how they asked me to go out and recruit fighters because how many guys don't want to know? Why wouldn't you want to know? If there's a supplement you could take, if there's certain foods you should eat to help the brain, why wouldn't you? So you get an MRI, and then they do cognitive tests, you know, speech patterns and balance tests and all these things. It's pretty exhausting for the day. And, you know, you go on the computer and you see a light, you can, you know, you're doing this, you know, all this stuff, and they do how fast your fingers going on both sides, you know. And it's actually quite extensive. But and then you go home, and then they give you a couple of days later, they give you a report, and they give you the typical Mr. Mancini, found nothing in there. I said, yeah, not even a brain. I know, I got it. But so far, so good. Thank you. No scarring in the tissue, no residual gray matter, which is what they look for, you know. Yeah. So far, so good. But I pray and hope I can say that 5 years from now. You know, nobody comes away unscathed in boxing. You know, it's just to what extent.
Yeah, and I spoke there about your pressure style. You're one of the greatest pressure fighters of all time.
Thank you.
Like, people forget about your amateur background. You won several Golden Gloves championships, and it was, you were kind of plucked by Murphy Griffith, and Dave Wolf just came and spotted you and said, this guy's going to be a pro.
Murphy Griffith, see, Irish name.
Yeah.
He was from the Virgin Islands, he was black, but he was a great Irish name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was said, my trainer was black from the Virgin Islands, my manager was Jewish fellow from New York, and I'm Italian American kid from Youngstown, Ohio. I was the Rainbow Coalition before Jesse Jackson. Rainbow Coalition, but it was. And Griff saw me in the National Golden Gloves, and he said to me, and I came in, and I lost in the semifinals or quarterfinals to a fighter who was the defending national champion. But I beat him, you know. Yeah. Look, the fighters we know. When you lose, you lose. When you win, you win. You know. Yeah. I beat him that night, and they knew it. And I was so heartbroken. He got, you know, first of all, in America, I don't know if it's like this in here in Ireland, but there's nothing more political than amateur athletics. Amateurs, you know. So I wanted, and I was so heartbroken. And so I was in a locker room, and Murphy Griffith came back and said, young man, he said that, you know, he knew one of our trainers on our team. And that's why he wanted to talk to me. He said, young man, he said, my name is Murphy Griffith. He said, look, you're never going to win no amateur title. He said, but you could be a very, very good pro, and I could help you get there. And that's how we're talking. And I said, I don't want to fight another amateur fight, which I didn't, And my relationship with Griff was just, coming from my Youngstown, Ohio, it was very difficult to leave my amateur trainer, Ed Sullivan, another Irishman, and a lot of people, were mad at me. But, look, I went to New York. I wanted to be my father. My father told me, Raymond, if you stay here, you're going to starve. You have to go.
Yeah.
And so I left. And so it was the right time. But later on, obviously, everyone knew, seen the significance of it. And was I'm beeping here. I'm sure I apologize. And so by going there, they said what a great trainer Murphy Griffith was. How he took my style from an amateur to the pros. It made it. You could see the difference, and got me to a world title. So I was very fortunate, and I had a great trainer and great manager, and I had a good run at it. But the one thing I was fortunate to know when it's time I walked away because I lost the hunger and I lost the passion. Yeah. And so I was fortunate to walk away at the right time. I would think so.
As in walking away from boxing in general?
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if you're comfortable to tell us, but for some people who didn't catch our interview with you last November, I'm not sure, do you want to tell us about the reasons, remind us why, there might have been reasons behind that loss of passion?
Yeah, we talked about it on the air. Most people know, some don't. You can't expect the fans to know, but most boxing fans know I had to fight my second title defense in November of 1982. I fought a fighter from Korea. He was Oriental champion and Asian Pacific champion, Dooku Kim. And we fought Madison Square Garden, and I'm sorry, Caesar's Palace, and outdoor stadium. And it was actually the first fight for the permanent outdoor facility. Because usually they erect a state, outdoor facility, and then they tear it down. This was going to be the permanent outdoor facility. So this was the first fight, November 13th of 1982. And see, styles make fighters. Fighters, some guys, fighter A could beat fighter B, beat C, and C beats A. It doesn't, styles just who's wrong style for you. And I looked at this guy, I saw the tape of him, of course, and I just knew it was going to be a headache because the style-wise is very similar to mine. He kept coming, strong, aggressive. So we fought, and it was a war. It was a war. And, I knocked him out in the 14th round, beginning in the 14th round. It was so great. We jumping around. I was all swollen up. He was all swollen up. I had cuts. He had cuts. It was just the greatest feeling. It was a great victory. It was. But then later that evening, he went to the hospital, and then he succumbed and fell into a coma, and 4 days later passed away. So, of course, if I'm going from the highest of highs, you go to the lowest of lows. And I had to take time to decide whether I want to continue my career because I meet with my priest. I went, to church. I needed to go to confession. I felt, all these things that were going through my mind. But I just prayed for his soul. Prayed for him, and then you ask for don't know why. I'm at the height of my career. Everything's going great. So you just rely on my faith to get me through it, and it did. But at that time, that's when the American Association of Boxing was coming down on fighting, and Ecumenical Society of America was coming down on how can this Catholic Christian boy say he's a Christian and said yes, he's going in the ring to try to hurt somebody and all these things. So it really puts you through me as a tailspin for a while. But I got through it. And eventually I came back to fight. And, but yes, you're correct. And I've said that to you when I told you on the air. After that, there was no love for it. After that, it became a business for me. And I was just looking for the door after that.
But how could you possibly keep your love after going through what you went through? So the fighter was Dooku Kim, for anybody who didn't hear that piece with Joe last year. It is available on podcast for kind of a lengthier chat, but just kind of touch on it briefly again. Just talk us through what actually happens in the ring that night in terms of the fighting styles that you mentioned there and the impact on Kim.
Well, first of all, whenever I tell people, same thing when you beat fighters from Ireland or from the UK or from... Whenever you find a fighter from another country, I tell you, those are the most difficult guys to fight. They may not have the most talent, but what they have is they carry that determination and they carry their countrymen on their back. Literally. You feel that. And, nobody's more passionate than the Irish. I look, through, you see fighters like Barry McGuigan and, Steve Collins. These people support these guys, and they're passionate fans. But those are the hardest guys to fight because, like I said, they was carrying more in the ring than just themselves. So that day, style-wise, we're very similar. He was aggressive, I'm aggressive. I'm an orthodox fighter. He's a southpaw. And And, the first punch came out and hit me with a straight left hand, and well, it's on, So it just was a war, toe-to-toe. It was a war of attrition, staying in tight, a lot of infighting. And I always said, all the fights, even the fights I lost when I got beat by Aguayo or even I lost my title to Ramo, I never felt like quitting in a fight. You just, keep going. That was the only fight in the middle of the fight I felt like quitting. I said, I didn't know if I wanted to get up out of the next round because my body was hurting so bad. My head was pounding. My ears were, throbbing. It was just your hands because my hands were all swollen. It was just a bad, bad feeling. And then going in, I felt like I was in control. And then going into the 14th round, 13th round, I had jumped on him and threw, 30-something unanswered punches, but he wouldn't go down, and he was holding on, and then he jumped back on me. And I was fatigued at that point, coming out throwing so many punches for about 30 seconds to a minute straight. Then he jumped right back on me, and he was like, "Jesus, man, I thought I had this guy going, and now he's coming right back on me." So in the beginning, 14th round, I jumped on him, and I happened to just catch him and good left hook, a straight right hand, and he went down. So of course we're celebrating. It's a great victory. It's a great win. It was a great fight. But because of the subsequently what happened after the fight, there's nothing good about it, obviously. But if that didn't happen, that would be one of those fights you would see on ESPN all the time. It was just a great fight up to, so it was a great victory, but nothing, like I said, after that, nothing good about it.
And presumably, considering what you've just said, the amount of punches that you actually withstood that day, you had no idea that it was what did happen.
No. I didn't see him get carried out. That's why I said we were celebrating. We went back. We were having a party in my suite. My manager came up to tell me, and my trainer came up to tell me that he collapsed. I never saw it. We were just celebrating the ring, and I went over to, hey, I hope you're okay and everything, like fighters do. I didn't see that. They said he slipped off the stool. And that's when he went into Tacoma, and they carried him off on a stretcher. We never saw that. I never saw that. I didn't know nothing about that. So, from like I said, you go from the highs of highs to the, just like you got hit in the groin with, with a steel-toe boot. It's just took the breath away from me. So, and I just went back when I went back home, and then of course the national news and it was just it was because it was a Saturday afternoon prime time. I was riding the wave of, top of my game, the fame. I was all that, I was at CBS's guy, and then that happened. So it was just, and then that's what I said. How you could explain that? So you rely on your faith. I've said that's why I rely on my faith to get me through that.
Yeah, you mentioned there, like being on the news and how that was reported at the time. I think we deal with this sort of stuff. We discuss it in a much different way now than it might have been discussed in 1982. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of guys say, "Oh, it's because of you. The fights are 12 rounds now." No. The reason it's 12 rounds is because of television. You guys know TV controls it. TV said we're not going to show any more televise any more fights unless they're 15 rounds, and the weigh-in is the morning of. We're back to 15 in the morning of. It's good for TV, more chance for commercials. But did it start the discussion about 15 to 12 rounds? Yes, of course it did. But they found out there's no substantiating proof to prove that more fatalities, more injuries, more long-term effect happened in the last 3 rounds as opposed to the first 12. None. So it's just, if that's the case, then football's got to be cut down to 3/4. And marathoners got to do 20 miles, not 27, 26 miles. I mean,
it's interesting because those final 3 rounds are often referred to as the championship rounds.
Which they are.
And if you look back over the course of history, boxing would be so different if you didn't have a 13th, 14th, 15th round.
My man knows. I've said that repeatedly. I've said that the course of history of boxing would be changed.
You'd be undefeated.
I'd be undefeated. My man knows. I was beating Lexus, and I was beating Bram off the 12. Joe Louis isn't beating Billy Conn. Rocky Marciano don't beat Joe Walcott, and Ray Leonard doesn't beat Tommy Hearns. They were all way behind going into the later rounds. And championship rounds now they say 11 and 12. Any 10-round fighter can go 12. Any 10-round fighter, you can gut it out the last 2 rounds if you had to. Very few go the last 3.
And we had a fight at the weekend where you got the feeling 3 more rounds we would have had a conclusive winner.
Absolutely, you would have had a clear winner.
And you also said earlier that fighters know themselves when the final bell goes who won. Who do you think thought they won?
Triple G won that fight. He won it. I thought he won it more impressively this time than he did last time. He won it last time, and he won it this time. I'm impressed with Canelo. I like Canelo. Don't get me wrong. He's a good fighter, tremendous fighter too. But I was surprised he kept coming, and Triple G boxed him. But I think a couple of things happened. I don't think the first fight, I think he was, respected the power more, and then he felt him, so he didn't, he didn't respect his power as much. And two, I think Triple G got old. A lot of times you see it happen, a guy gets older.
Happens overnight.
Oh, sometimes, yeah. In that fight, he looked old, because times he would have turned it on before, he didn't do it, or couldn't. And I was just surprised. But as far as, look, there's many ways to judge a fight. One is punches thrown, punches connected, aggression, effective aggression. If I'm coming forward and you're smacking me around, that's not effective aggression. But the one I go to is ring generalship. Who dictates the pace of the fight? Who's controlling center ring? And that was Triple G. So I just thought it was a clear-cut win victory.
Yeah.
So if it had gone the distance to, say, 15 rounds,
yeah.
I presume you think Canelo would have been the clear winner at that point? Or
no,
you think the opposite?
I think Triple G would have got him, because both busted up. I think he was hurting Canelo on the inside. I don't remember seeing Triple G being hurt. And Canelo, backed up. But, I like Canelo. He's a tremendous fighter, don't get me wrong. I just, the first fight I thought was a clear-cut loser. When this fight, I thought, again, as I lost the fight, but it was a better fight. Actually, that was a better fight.
Was it fight of the year?
Candidate. Hey, look, there's a fight this past Friday night between Jose Ramirez and Orozco. I forgot the guy's first name. Orozco from Mexico. I guess everyone's saying nothing. That fight was tremendous. I mean, they said that would be the fight of the year. So, so that's all. I mean, those are the type of fights you want. Those are mixed boxing, but those are also the type of fights that shorten a fighter's career. You can't have too many tough fights like that.
And the point that Golovkin may be getting on a little bit is true, but also Teddy Atlas made the point that maybe he overtrained for this fight. There was so much bad blood. And you've spoken before about, was it the Bramble fight where I
overtrained, yeah.
You just wanted to go in there and knock him out so bad that you overtrained?
Yes, and it's a real thing. And it's funny you said about overtraining. I said about Golovkin the first fight. I thought he looked overtrained the first fight because he looked stale. He couldn't change speeds when he needed to. That's the difference between undertrained and overtrained. An undertrained, you're lethargic, you got no snap, and you got no gas in the tank. When you're overtrained, you're lethargic, you got no snap in your punches, but you got gas in the tank, but it's one speed. You can't change speeds, And that's what you look at the first fight. This fight, I thought, he looked a little fresher in the later rounds. But again, this Canelo's a strong guy, was pressuring the fight. Also, like I said, age, he looked like he got old that fight. And I hadn't seen that before.
How old does he get in the next, let's say, 10 months? Let's say there's the third part of this. Is it next May?
I think they're going to have to do a third. I don't think there's any definitive winner. I think they'd have to. But between us girls here, I don't think it's going to happen. And I do not think Canelo will give it to him. And people say, why won't he? The money he'll make? Because it's ego. His ego, man. This fight the first fight, the second fight should have been made a long time ago. And then after all the bad blood when Triple G made comments about him, about the clenbuterol and stuff, I think Canelo may hold on to that victory and say, no, I'm not going to give another fight. Though it's stupid, it's egotistical, because it's the biggest fight for him. It's still, again, biggest fight boxing, because there is no clear-cut winner. It could be one of the great trilogies of all time. I don't think it'll happen. If it happens, and De La Hoya is another one, man. I'm tired of him as a fan. He'll wait. Let's wait till he gets older. How much older do you think the guy's going to get? He looked old now.
Yeah.
And I don't think he'll stick around to wait.
Just on that clenbuterol thing, do you think that because of that, Canelo needs to go again and beat him a second time just to double down on that?
Yeah, because those are going to be those detractors who are going to say, because of that, whatever, they're going to always blame that for something, to do with his performance. Though I thought he was a tremendous fighter before that. Look, and does it happen to Mexican meets? Yeah, of course. The rub on that is that his trainer and manager, or two trainers, a father and son, they're butchers by trade. Yeah. But they ain't with them all the time, every time he's out eating. I get that. So it's a real thing, and I don't think he did it on purpose. I really don't. But, I think, just what you said, to give a definitive ending to it, this should be a trilogy, because everyone still thinks that Canelo won. Triple G won. And Canelo should take that to heart and say, hey, I'm taking it personal, and let's do it again. I want to get the clear winner.
And you can generally judge the health of boxing by the lightweight division, your old division, the middleweight division, and the heavyweight division, the storied divisions of boxing. and they all seem to be vibrant at the moment. Who's your favourite fighter to watch at the moment?
I love these young fighters. I love this kid Jose Leo Santa Cruz. Yeah. I love the middleweights. There's so many. There's a lot. It's a great division right now, middleweights, I love these two guys going to be coming up fighting. I just met when I was in London. I met Josh Taylor, kid, a Scottish fighter. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of good things about him. Now, when you watch somebody in the gym, you could tell. Angelo Dundee always said, the gym is the biggest liar. It tells you everything and it tells you nothing. And what he meant by that is, when you know how a guy trains, and you know how he's sparring, that doesn't tell you anything, because he may be working on different things. What it does tell you is about a fighter's character, about his heart, desire. And watching that kid work, man, he's got it. So I'm anxious to see him fight. But he's also young. He's getting ready to enter that tournament for the Junior Welterweight Classic. Yeah. And with another favorite fighter of mine, Regis Prograis. Yeah. And they're talking about Prograis and Josh. They're in separate sides, and they can meet, certainly meet in the finals. So those are young guys I like to watch. I like young, good-looking fighters that come out and put on a show. And Prograis does, and so does Josh Taylor, in different styles, perfect styles for each other. So I'm anxious to see that.
Italian-American boxing is arguably the most storied of all. The Rocky franchise did wonders for that. Jake LaMotta, obviously, as well. Can you talk about the fight when you actually came to fight in Italy? I think it was just off the back of the Kim fight.
Yeah, it was the fight after the Kim fight, that's right.
Did you feel you needed that sort of boost from the Italian community? I know it was packed out that night and it was a great fight.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I told my manager, give me a fight right away. I didn't want to wait. Because if you sit around and you mourn and you wallow in your sorrow and all those type of things, you never get on with your life. And I'm not one of these guys. I'm very fortunate in my life that, thank God, I'm able to make peace with things and move on. That's just how I've been. So I told my manager, give me a fight right away, because I had to get back in there. And so he wanted to find a place that was comfortable for me, or that would be more embracing to me. So one of them was either going to be in my hometown of Youngstown or Italy. Yeah. And we always wanted to talk about fighting overseas. So we made the fight in Italy. And they were wonderful. But I got to tell you, one thing I was not prepared for was the European press. Really? Oh man, they beat you up pretty good.
Worse than the American press?
Oh yeah, and the American press is tough, but the European press just come out and lie. They make up stories. I'll never forget the Italian writer. I forgot his name, Enzo or Giovanni. I said, Giovanni. I said, you're making up something. I'll never forget what he told me. He said, Ray, you must understand, we are journalists and make good story. Okay.
Report the facts, perhaps.
Yeah, but that's what fighting in Italy was something I always wanted to, and it was wonderful. And my family from Sicily, in the village of Bagheria, where my grandfather was born, they took a train, 13 hours by train to come from over to Calabria and then take the train all the way up, because we're all the way to the south, every other diocese all the way to the north, right? So it was quite a trip for them, but for them to be there, and I look back. I'm glad, but I was not a impressive performance by no means. Again, I was drained. I was mentally drained, and again, that was one of them fights. I didn't care if I didn't care if I won or lost. I probably the only fight I can obviously say that. I said honestly say that I didn't care if I won or lost. I just wanted to get it over with. I was so mentally drained with all the stuff. But and I had a good tough guy. George Feeney, was the European champion, and. Just a tough guy, or as they say in this part of the country, he's a hard man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so he put on a good fight, and I beat him the easiest way I could. We boxed. I was having to go out and try to knock him out. I hit him first couple rounds, but he, tough, good shit. And I said, this is just beat him the easiest way. So boxed him, and it was good performance, and I won. But I was glad I got in there again. And I was glad to get that out of the way. It was important for me to get in there. And people said it changed me. Well, how could it not? But I never thought it changed the way I fought, because I knew going in, if I didn't fight with the same determination, desire, kind of reckless abandon, then that's when I can get hurt. And and that's the one thing that bothered me about the Kim fight. Why him and not me? And my style's not going to change, so who's to say it couldn't be me next time? So those are things, and that's when you start looking for the door. Mm-hmm. But I just won the title, so I had the opportunity to get my financial security, which I think I owed to myself and to my family. So. And one of my dearest friends, very close to this day, Father Tim O'Neill, another nice Irishman. Father O'Neill said to me, I was my teacher in school, and before every fight, come and give me a blessing. And I sat and talked with him, and he told me, he said, Ray, look, it was it's something that happened. He said, but if you're asking me, I want to see you fight again. I think God wants you to fight again, because you give this area, our hometown, you give us a boost. Your people look up, and they kind of live vicariously through you, and all these things he was saying. And I said, wow. And he says, I think if you want, I want to see you fight again, but it's like you got to have it in your heart. And that meant a lot to me. I meant a lot to Father to say that. And I know that how the people, and I wanted to do it for the people of Youngstown. Youngstown needed to have that light shine on them, something good at that time, because we were going through such economic distress that, I continued to fight. But like I said, it wasn't only a couple of years later, then I said, okay, now time to move on.
And just the very last point, I know you're a great entertainer in the ring, but you've also moved into movie entertainment as well. And I was reading a story about you auditioning for Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, I remember. I came back at one reading, and when they call you back, they see something they like. I came back for a second reading. When they call me back for a third reading, now when they call you back for a third reading, it's pretty much they pretty much know. They know what they want. Yeah. So it's between you and somebody else, or it's a couple of actors. So I kicked ass on this, man. I mean, when there's plenty of auditions, I stunk the joint out, but this one I was right on. And Tarantino, I'll never forget, went, wow. He's like sitting there, there's a table like this in front, and I'm over there reading. He goes, wow, that was something, man. You were real great. You were right on. He said, but I can't give it to you. I said, what? He said, I can't give it to you. I said, what do you mean you can't give it to me? He said, because people will look at you and say, there's Boom Boom Mancini. We'll take them right out of the movie. So I can't give it to you. But you were terrific. I said, then why did you, and I said, why did you have me come in here? He goes, well, I got to tell you, I wanted to meet you. He said, but I also was waiting for you to, to fall on your, to fail. But you didn't, And I come up to the table, I said, you had me come in here, and I got over the table, and I'm doing this, and I'm yelling, I'm cussing him out, calling him every name, and everyone's like, oh, this beautiful Mr. Mancini, And I'm cussing him out, I called him every name, and I said, come over and I'll bake you pea blood for a month. I'll punch your liver out. So I went through this whole monologue, and then I caught myself, because there's a room full of people. And the one thing about the entertainment business, they find that this guy's crazy. Yeah. Nobody wants to do it. Yeah. So I caught myself, and I said, and I turned around and I started walking away. I turned around and said, hey, how's that for acting? Oh, my God. But I wasn't acting. But I realized I had to catch myself. So that was the story, but yeah.
Would you have done a better job than Steve Buscemi?
Here's the thing. I know Steve. We did a movie together. Steve's a wonderful actor, a very good friend of mine. And before you said that, people said, Steve Buscemi, you couldn't do what he did. I said, no. Don't get it twisted. I would have been as good. Oh, yeah. I'd have been as good. Different, but as good. Yeah. But we'd have done it differently. Yeah. Steve was wonderful. But I would have been just as good, but in a different way. But can I say, also talking about the entertainment, and this I'm not trying to kiss up to my Irish brethren, but this is true. My favorite actor, Daniel Day-Lewis. Mm-hmm. Now he's of my generation. Let me clarify it. Of my generation, Pacino and De Niro, of course, but they're the generation ahead, of course. In my generation, Daniel Day-Lewis, he's spectacular, man.
Yeah, we love to claim him as Irish as well. It's one of our favourite hobbies. Ray, you've been so generous with your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I thank you for having me, man. This is my first time here in Dublin. It won't be my last, and people are lovely.
Nice one. Well, we look forward to catching up with you soon, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Thank you so much.
Thank you.